Hello, my name is Brandon Geringer. I'm the creator of Pocket Fantasy RPG, and here's a new updated video about the game. It uses a D6, roll high. It's 2 pages, front and back. That's the whole game. But surely that can't be all of it. Of course not. Let's take a deeper look at what it has to offer. This is the full rules right here, how to play the game, as well as magical armor and magical weapons. There's 4 races that you can choose from. Here's the 4 main character classes with spells, freeform magic, and equipment. So you give that to the player. That's what they look at. For the Pocket Master, you have the adventure generator, dungeon generator, and how to outfit rooms, as well as how to generate monsters for those rooms, and loot should they beat and defeat those monsters, and some hints on how to better run the game. So that's the 2 pages, and let's delve into its first system. That's the task resolution system. It's very easy. Roll high on this D6, and that'll be different for each character. The difficulty will be assigned by the Pocket Master, and mitigating circumstances may allow that to go down or up based off maybe something that's helping the character or hindering the character. That can solve a lot of the problems that the characters come across. And many of the character classes, they get rerolls on certain types of tasks. Like a fighter gets to reroll strength, and the wizard gets to reroll all intelligence task rolls. So you can see that they're innately better at certain things. Now when you roll a 6, when you're trying to accomplish something, you finish that action and then you try to roll this again. If you roll another 6, you generate a heroic reroll for yourself. And you also start with a set number of heroic rerolls. And you can give those out as a Pocket Master for good role playing, certain sections of your campaign or adventure, or for heroic actions. So they're a benefit to the character, and they're really the engine that drives it. It allows a lot of abilities to be used again when they expend a heroic reroll, and it also allows them to save their life or to do a better attack roll when they really needed it. So it's really one of the more fun aspects of the game is the heroic reroll system, roll into D6. Next is the combat system. This is also very easy. Everything in the game is made to be either, well, really both, easy and fun. If it's neither of those 2 things, it doesn't work for the game. And I would tell you to change the rules should you find it not being easy or fun. So this is definitely a game of rulings over rules. And the combat system helps illustrate that. So when you roll your combat skill die, let's say a fighter, they have a full D6. They're one of obviously the strongest in combat. They get a full D6. So let's say they roll a 5. They're going to do 5 points of damage against the monster. Well, the monster gets to roll its combat skill die in order to defend or deflect or block some of that damage. So let's say they also rolled a 5, but they have a combat skill of D6 minus 2. So that's only a 3. So they're going to take 2 points of damage. That's how it works. And vice versa against the character. Now, the thief, the cleric, and the wizard are going to have different combat skill dies. They're going to have a D6 minus 1, and for the wizard, a D6 minus 2. So obviously showing that they're not as strong as in combat. But the fighter will always do 1 point of damage, and they will always do, always block 1 point of damage against them. And that's really the core of the game, of the combat system, is blocking damage, giving it out, and it also allows for new players, especially kids, to enjoy not having just damage done to them with nothing they can do to stop it, like in some other games. So they get to roll defense against that attack that's about to hit them, and it lets them have a little bit more control of their fate, which is fun. The other thing that it does is it allows for the dice to stay within a certain parameter, so it doesn't go up too high. So there's no pluses in it. While subtraction might be something that some people might not enjoy, it's embraced by the game, and it will quickly become very intuitive to you. So that's the combat skill system. So let's look at what else it has. Now, you'll see, should you download Pocket Fantasy RPG, you'll see a bunch of stuff that you get, and one of those is going to be cards. I try to make everything I could in the game in card form, because it's easy to handle, it's easy to show someone, and it's just useful. So one of the first things you'll see to help you make your character is to pick one of the races, and it's got all their equipment on the back side of it. And I've laminated all these, as this is a labor of love, and that allows you with the circles to mark off whenever certain items are used. The other thing that the players have to choose is a class. So in essence, all you need to tell a new player, roll high on a d6, pick a race, pick a class. There are no attributes and numbers they need to keep up with other than their hit points. And for some spell users, how many times they've cast a spell in an encounter or in a session. So here are the 4 main character classes with all their rules on the back side. So you'll see a lot of cards that are used for it. For the wizard, there's a spell book with all the spells printed on them. And then there's also a easy hit point tracker that you can use right in the name of the creature or the monster or even the players to keep track of hit points. Now, I've laminated these, and you don't have to do that. Should you be going through a lot of them, you can obviously just use normal paper or cardstock paper to make it easier for you. So let's continue on. What else do you get with Pocket Fantasy RPG? Well, you get 2 optional character classes. Now, these are character classes I felt were outside the mold of traditional fantasy role-playing games. And one of those is the Ranger, and they're very good outdoors, as well as with a bow. The next is the Bard. It's a very strong class. It might not seem that, but they're actually very good because they help the party. And they have songs. These are bardic songs that help the party as a whole. And the Bard has to choose which song to sing to give certain benefits or hindrances to the monsters. So benefits for the players and hindrances for the monsters. So it's a very unique class that's very fun to play. So what else do you get? Well, I said I'm giving them a game that is free and has everything they need to play, but let's help them with some imagination. So it comes with 27 location cards, and you'll see that it has art on the one side, and on the other side is going to be a description, as well as some adventure hooks, and maybe what type monsters might be in that location. So you can randomly just go through the cards, and like I said, there's 27 of them. You can randomly just pick a card and say, oh, here it is. This castle on the hill looks kind of dark and mysterious. Read what it's about, look at the adventure hooks, maybe see if you want to use these monsters, and you've got an adventure ready to go. Because I always like that push and that catalyst for imagination of what the game's going to be. So, the next thing you're going to have is monster cards. It's broken down by the types of monsters, the class of monsters, undead, beast, humanoid, and boss. And it's going to have, like, here's a ghoul. Little piece of art. It's going to have their abilities, and it's going to have their combat skill, where they hit in melee or ranged. And then it's going to have a hit point tracker down at the bottom. So again, you can mark off. I always enjoy in adventure role-playing modules where you can mark off the hit points for the creature. Again, everything that I try to create with the game was about ease of play, fun, and even easy to print. So it's not going to eat up a whole bunch of your ink, and it's just something you can download, print, and get ready to play. Now again, all these cards are optional, but they do help. They help the game to show it tactically and to easily be able to transport. So here's the next one, and it was a huge undertaking. This is the magical items. You can see here. So everything from basic potions, healing potions, to basic magical weapons and armor, and then a slew of unique magical armor and weapons, jewelry, and other strange, unique magical items. It's all in here. I've also given you blank ones so that you can use the art and create your own magical weapons. Let's take a look at what else it's got. So one of the downloads I created for it, which is pay what you want, is optional character classes. So what it's going to have is, it's going to give you the basic character classes that you know, even the optional ones. And then it's going to have this selection here. So there's the optional, the Bard, and the Ranger, as well as some new ones. Assassin, the Berserker, the Commander, the Druid, the Gladiator, the Martial Artist, the Necromancer, and the Spell Sword. So again, this is pay what you want, but it just helps enhance should you be wanting to try some new character classes that are a little bit more unique, maybe a little bit more challenging to play, but to give you some new options for your game. And these are pay what you want, and there's also cards of those as well, which I have here. So you can see, once again, try to do everything I can in card form. So there's Necromancer with their rules on the back. So there's that. Another thing that's really good about the game is it allows for you to be able to go out and get a lot of those miscellaneous role-playing game aids to help you run a game. Should it be an adventure dice set that helps you create a room, to dungeon challenge cards, maybe cards you pull out that might change up the way a dungeon is. All those things that you see that may not fit 100% into your game, they'll work for Pocket Fantasy. Here's a noteboard, a dry erase noteboard that you can keep with you. Again, small, size. Something that's always something in my head is try to keep something small that you can use to create a board. Another thing is the fact that you can use, and I also have downloads for this, heroic reroll tokens and hit point tokens. You can always scavenge through your board games and find hit point tokens. And I did that with gold that you find in the game. I scavenged through a couple of games, and I can hand these out to players. So while you don't need a pencil, if you use the cards, you can just give them the race, the class, maybe their spells if they have them, and tokens for their hit points, and they're ready to play. That's one of the ease, of playing the game that it has. And then you can download some stuff like these geomorphs that I use. So you can see here a whole bunch of geomorphs to create dungeons. Here's a little box full of tokens and stuff that I use from other board games with some dice and meeple, all those little things that might not fit in your game. Like I said, they'll work with Pocket Fantasy because it's not held down by size scale. That's one of the things that's really good about it. And another thing to talk about that's unique is the fact that in most role-playing games, you're going to go from a session, that first session, you're going to be fighting stuff like goblins and orcs and rats. Well, the thing about Pocket Fantasy is in a night's session, you can go from fighting goblins and orcs and rats all the way up to fighting dragons, mummies, griffins, ogres, giants, all those things that that you want to fight. So it allows you within a small amount of time to completely encounter all sorts of different monsters. And maybe you don't have experience running dragons or mummies or medusas. Now you can get that experience by fighting them in the Pocket Fantasy system. So your characters in essence start off already with all their abilities. There's no true leveling up. There's an optional leveling up system that I have in the game, but that's really not the scope of the game. It's really for kind of like that one-time session. And I do understand that people like to have games last longer, and there are some rules for that. So the only thing that's going to separate them from fighting goblins and dragons is going to be magical weapons and armor. Those are the things that are going to save their life or help them defeat these boss monsters. So throughout their travels, they're going to be able to try to acquire these items to help them defeat these epic monsters. And that, I feel, is unique in the sense of the scope of Pocket Fantasy compared to other games. So with the combat skill system having an attack and a defense role, that also allows the game to be used solo. A lot of players I've found out have used the game for their own solo role-playing because they get to roll attack and defense. It's pretty much innately baked into the game. So they can actually play as the monsters. So, with that being said, there are adventures that I've made for Pocket Fantasy, and the first one here, as you can see, is printed out. And they're only $2, Pocket Fantasy RPG, The Lost Vault of Urstov. It's about 15 pages, and it's got a full adventure in there. The first one I wrote for it, there's 2 others, and this can be played in a one-night session, and it's should be a lot of fun and a unique experience. So look out for more of those, and check out the other 2 as well. So I'm trying to make sure I haven't forgotten anything. Just to recap, it's an easy game. It uses a D6. It embraces rulings over rules. And it can pretty much do anything that a full-fledged role-playing game can achieve in a very, very small package. You don't have to keep up with ability scores. I see other light games, and they still keeping up with your strength or your wisdom with numbers. It doesn't have all that. You talk to your Pocket Master. You discuss, hey, this would be easy for my character. And the Pocket Master says, hey, you know what? You're right. Or you know what? Maybe not so, because you've also got this that might hamper you. That's the strength of the game. Communication with your Pocket Master, discussing about what it would be, and then making that roll. Using heroic reroll should you fail, or should you want to do something even better. because should you use a heroic reroll and roll a 6, you then get a chance to possibly get another heroic reroll, as you did it in a masterful way. So it embraces the strength of the character classes, and it's always focused on quick and fun. So that's Pocket Fantasy RPG. I love communicating in the comment section of Drive-Thru RPG or on my YouTube channel here about the game. I appreciate everyone. It's got over 67,000 downloads with really little to no advertisement other than some banners that I put up. It used to be on Google Plus when that was around, and that really helped start some communication with some of the fans. But I hope that you'll check out the adventure, you'll check out the game, download it. Like I said, everything that I've showed you here other than the pay what you want optional character classes and the adventure is free. There's also some other aids on there too, an example of play. There's a complete master list of the magical items so that you don't have to look through these to get the information for them. And I will let you know that just to help people kind of push them towards the cards, there are some unique monsters in the cards. So look out for those, especially boss monsters. So that's Pocket Fantasy. I look forward to more stuff from it, as well as possibly branching out from the fantasy genre into some other genres that I've been asked about. So we'll see what the future holds. But please check out the game, and if you enjoy it or not, or you have any feedback whatsoever, like I said before, I love communicating with the people who've tried and looked at the game. If you have concerns, questions, something doesn't make sense to you, please reach out to me. I think you can see down below from the comment section that I am very, very welcoming to any type of feedback, and I will try to accommodate as much as my ability will allow me to. But thank you for watching the video. Check out some of my other videos on the game that you might see on my channel, because I've done videos on all 3 of the adventures as well as the class compendium. And if you have any suggestions, please let me know them, and leave a review. Reviews really help solidify people's views of the game and say, hey, this game might be one that I need to look at. And plus, it lets people communicate more, especially if you can do a written review. That would really be beneficial, and it helps me make a better game. Ultimately, the game is about fun, quickness, lightweight, but also about making it yours. And if you like something, like I said before, I will try to accommodate it, and let's try to make the best Pocket Fantasy RPG that we can, with your help. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.